Hey guys, what's up? It's Crow here. Bring another tutorial to you guys. Well, it's not really a tutorial, but it's more like advice on camera settings, what I use, what other people use, and what every like number and what all these different settings actually do, like what they affect. So I just wanted to break it down for you guys. I get a lot of questions in my stream about what I use, but I get a lot of questions about what's the best camera settings. And to be honest, there's no real best camera settings. There's the best camera settings for you. And I can give you some basic guidelines, but the best way to know a good camera setting for you is to try it out. Quickly, I'll go over what I use. You can look at it there. But the best way to explain it is probably to start off as if you're a new player, right? So I'm going to default this. Now, when you first played the game, when you picked it up, or if you just bought the game and you're watching this is what your camera looks like. You have camera shake on, and you're really, really close to everything. What I would definitely recommend, even for a first-time player, is just to turn off camera shake. You can still play like this if you really want to, just to get familiar with everything, but turn off camera shake. It makes your life 10 times better. Trust me. But already there are a few problems with these camera settings, in my opinion, for at least a high level of gameplay. Being so close means that you're very tunnel visioned. Your FOV is really low, and FOV means field of view. So what I'm going to show you about field of view is how it impacts the edges of your screen. So the ball is on the right side of my screen. I'm going to go to options, and I'm going to increase my FOV to the max. And as you can see, the ball starts to drift towards the center of the screen. And FOV just means I can see more of the pitch at once, so I often will tunnel vision less. My car is still pretty big, and because of the camera stiffness, my car will move around a lot from the back of my screen. But I can see a lot more of the pitch. Now, what tends to happen is you're going to feel a lot faster on a higher FOV. You're seeing more of the pitch, so if a ball comes flying across the field or across your screen, you're gonna have less time to react to it. Played on 110 FOV, or 100 FOV, sorry. I played on 100 FOV for a very long time. For a long time, these were my camera settings. That was it. These were my camera settings when I picked up the game on day one. And I played on these for 10 months, I would say. I played like this. Just because I didn't want to mess with things, and I didn't want to mess with camera stiffness. And I'll get into it later. But when I started messing with camera stiffness, I had it cranked up really high. And I played here. This is how I played at LAN the very first time when we won. I played on these camera settings. And then I stuck with these for a while up until I teamed with Jae-mi and Rizzo. And when we first formed, Jae-mi convinced me to try out some different settings. And I've been using these settings ever since. I believe this is what I was at. It feels right. So, maybe my height's too high. No, it's good. But yeah, I've been using these camera settings, and I've liked these. I've had this for about 8 months. So, a lot of my problem was adjusting to 110 FOV. But for a newer player, I mean, with your cameras defaulted, you're gonna be at 90. And for me, I really feel like this is just too close. I'm really tunnel visioned. So if you feel the same way, just turn it up to 100 and just leave it there. See if you like it. Play with it for a little bit. Maybe turn it up to like 102. You can go down to 98. You know, you can really try out a lot of things. You can even crank it to like 107 or something. Try 110. Just determine how much of the pitch you like to see and how comfortable your shots are at certain angles. Because at 110 FOV, because you can see more of the pitch, you're gonna guess an angle for a shot differently than you would, let's say, at like 95. So if you're way down at 95, suddenly the pitch looks much different, and taking a shot, like I can't even score on an open net. I tried to get it left post, but on 95 FOV I can't do it because I'm very used to shooting at 110. Okay, so next I'm going to talk about camera distance. Now, when you mess with camera distance, I'm going to leave FOV at 110. I'm going to max it out. I'm going to max out camera distance too. And this suddenly looks like you can see way more of the pitch. Let me turn the height up one because I just feel weird. There we go. This looks like you can see a lot more of the pitch, right? You think, oh, you'd want to max out your camera distance and then you'd be able to see everything on the field. Well, that's not necessarily true. I'm going to put the ball on the edge of my screen again, and I'll show you what camera distance actually does. So there, the ball's on the edge of my screen. Now watch it move. Barely. We moved 300 camera distance and it moved 1 ball length. That's all you're getting. You're typically not going to go below 240 or maybe even 200. You're not going to go below that, and you're probably not going to go over 300 ideally. So you're really only getting about half of a ball width of a distance advantage that you can see. So camera distance isn't impacting how much you can see. It impacts how big your car is. So with a really short camera distance, you're really close to your car. And with a really long camera distance, you're far away from it. That's really all you're doing, is how much of the car do you want to see on your screen at any given time. This is also a good time to talk about camera stiffness. I'll get into height and angle in a little bit. But let me fix my camera settings. So this is with no stiffness. And if you pay attention to where my car is, if you kind of like pretend that the bottom of your monitor is like this line, then the car is getting really close and then really far away from the bottom of the monitor. The more speed you get, the farther away you get from the bottom of your monitor and get to the center of your screen. And if you like that, then that's fine. I liked it for a long time, and then I realized, hey, camera stiffness is actually cool because my car stays in the same spot, so that when I hit the brakes and try to dribble, my car doesn't look like it's shifting around. So what I did was I play now, I play on a much higher camera stiffness, and now pay attention to how much my car moves. It's not drifting up into the center of my screen or falling back to the bottom. It's not moving very much, if at all. You really only notice it when I kind of power slide left to right. And this means that I can dribble a little bit better. My car isn't, you know, shifting around. I can focus on the ball. I don't need to constantly look at my car to see where I am. I can just be familiar with it. All right, next we'll get into camera height and camera angle. Now the default is 100, and I played on it for a long time. And height and distance kind of go together. So, and angle a little bit too. If you have a long distance, like let's say you're playing over here at 320, maybe you want to be a little bit higher so that you can see more of the pitch. And with a better height, you can actually see over the ball to a degree. I've known some players that turn their angle like way down here, and what happens is when they're dribbling, they can actually see behind the ball. The ball doesn't blind them. So if I'm dribbling with these settings, I can actually see over the ball. I can see if somebody's getting really close to the ball or not. If I switch my settings back to what I actually play on, suddenly I'm actually blinded. I can't see if there's a goalie in net until I get really close. Then I know. Or I have to juke side to side to find out. But from a distance, if I don't move side to side, I actually really don't know. Also, camera distance will do that too. Although I wouldn't recommend going like below -3. Like this angle, where you're basically flat with the car, gets very disorienting, especially when the ball pops in the air and you turn ball cam on. It gets very disorienting. It's easy to get blinded by the ball. It's easy to not be able to see anything. Like, I can't even see the net. I have no idea what's in the net right now. So I would at least recommend going maybe -4, and then you can try, but I wouldn't push past -13 or 14, because then stuff gets really awkward the higher the ball gets in the air with ball cam on. It gets really awkward to try to, like, you know, they try to get a really big bouncing ball. It gets really awkward trying to, like, catch the ball. When you turn ball cam off and you try to catch it, it's just, I don't like it personally, but if you like it, you like to dribble a lot, then it's really up to you. A lot of this is about personal preference. I just want to showcase the different extremes. Maybe if you guys like the way something looks. Camera settings are there for you to find what works for you. and find what plays to your strengths. Maybe you have a different camera settings for different days. Maybe one day you don't feel like you're playing too good. And I know some people have done this, and they turn their FOV down, or they turn their FOV up. Some people play at 110, maybe they aren't feeling too good, maybe they don't feel very aware. They'll turn up to 103, just a slight difference. And sometimes it's enough to you know, make them play a little bit better on that day. Now, you don't want to get into this scenario where you're constantly changing your camera settings all the time. It can be a little bit unhealthy, and you definitely don't want to blame your gameplay on your camera settings. I don't change my camera settings very often because I want to, you know, be honest with myself and say, hey, I didn't play well because, you know, I didn't play well. It wasn't because of my camera settings. The camera settings were not the problem. It was me. I can work on this better. And modifying my camera settings may help with that. They may help me see what I need to do, but most of the time it's always been, hey, I can be mechanically better. I can approach this differently. I can think this through. So find that balance. You definitely don't want to be somebody who never changes their camera settings and you have like awful settings. Like, in my opinion, these are awful settings. Like, what if you play like this? You know, if these are your camera settings, then I'm sorry, but I don't think you're really going to go very far in the ranked ladder if these are your camera settings. And if your camera settings are like this, then I wouldn't really blame your gameplay on you. I would blame it on your camera, because this is strange and super tunnel vision on the ball. So the more normal your camera settings are, the more you want to focus internally on yourself, but there can definitely be room for improvements on camera settings like that. So I just wanted to showcase some of that for you guys, and I hope I've helped out a little bit. Did I go over everything? I just want to make sure I go over everything here. Oh, camera swivel speed, that's just your right stick. I leave it on default because I move my stick a lot. If I crank this up a lot, then barely tapping the right stick will, I don't want to make you guys too sick, but it's just, I don't want to make myself too sick by moving it around a lot. What was it at, 2.5? So usually when I'm like looking around, or I want to see if there's somebody over to my right, or if I want to look up to see if somebody's over there, I just leave it at default. Or if I want to look like over the ball while I'm dribbling. Typically a lot of the, if you change your angle, you can actually fix having a low angle by just tilting your right stick up while you're dribbling, and you can see if there's somebody like in the net. Although that's very mechanically intensive, and I don't even do it very much. But it's there if you've got the mechanics, for sure. Other settings like swivel pitch just changes. If you look up and down with your right stick, it'll just revert those, I believe. And these are self-explanatory, but hold ball camera is also a personal preference. It's not really a camera setting, it just involves your camera. But once again, personal preference. I like toggle. You might like hold, that's totally fine. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a little bit enlightening. I hope you can learn something from your camera settings. I've got a link in the description to my camera settings, along with a bunch of other pro players who have been in the RLCS, their camera settings. You can start off, maybe, if you don't know where to start, by maybe just copying somebody's, just straight up, like copy mine, copy Marky's, copy, you know, Garrett's, copy Fire's, copy Cux's. Do whatever you want to do. Just copy someone and see what it looks like, and maybe tweak it a little bit. But at the end of the day, your camera settings are always and should be tailored towards you. You're not going to play like somebody because you have their camera settings. Just want to keep that in mind. And yeah, I hope this has been helpful.